Hi, I'm Lakej. In this video for SINEE, we're going to focus on my best tips to create a punchy kick drum. And make sure to stick around till the end, because there's a little bonus tip there waiting for you. Hope you enjoy it. So my first tip is all about tuning. Finding out what tune you need for your kick is essential, I would say, and it makes sure that everything yells together. So let's get into it. Here we have a project that's in great need of a kick. This is what we got, and we're gonna add a kick to it. So I loaded up very standard kick sample here from the 909. It's not in the key we want. The sub here is tuned to C sharp, and the kick is usually in G when it comes to the 909 samples by default. So let's see what we get when we tune it a bit. So I'm looking for G sharp here. And already we can hear it's kind of sitting better in the mix, which is really good. This is what we're looking for when we're tuning. So we're looking for a correlation here. We're looking for sort of building a chord with our low end. 5 semitones apart, which is this case, or 7 semitones apart, or 1 semitone apart, 3. Like all of these correlations will work, and you'll have a range of playing around and trying to figure out what will work for your project. The next thing we're going to focus on here is decay. So this is something that's very essential. If you have a big sub and so on, you would like to have kind of a short and snappy kick drum to make sure that it punches through, right? You don't want to have a long-tailed kick drum. In this case, the kick has a little bit too much tail. So let's take away the tuner and see what happens when we cut the decay. Instantly gaining a lot more punch. Don't want to overdo it. Still need some of that body to come through. So here we are. Short and snappy kick drum. You can experiment with this as much as you like, and if you don't have as much sub as I have in this project, then a longer tailed kick drum is great. Especially if you go for the samples in the style of 808, has a lot of low end body, which is awesome to take advantage of. So for the next tip, we're diving into EQing. So this is something that we need to kind of like focus on to make sure that we can move on to the next steps. The EQing is mostly about reducing frequencies and not about boosting frequencies. So I prepared an EQ here that is taking into account that we're going to distort it later on. So we want to EQ as much as possible before the distortion to make sure that we don't enhance any frequency ranges that we don't desire. So let's check it out with this EQ on. So you can hear the kick is disappearing quite a bit. So that's why I have a gain staging utility right here. To bring back some of that volume that we lost. Grouping these and checking before. A little bit woody, a little bit too much mids. Much cleaner, and it allows us to proceed to the next step. So diving into our fourth tip here is all about the distortion. So I'm using the stock plugin called Roar from Ableton and a preset called Drum Second Opinion. This one has low, mid, and high. It's a multi-band distortion. I've tweaked it around a bit, set the tube setting here on high and mid. The low is soft and clean. we tweaked around these parameters a bit and the low here. So make sure to get some low punch through. And let's check it out, what happens. So quite the difference. This is the bite and grit we're looking for. But I'm not quite satisfied with it. I really want some click going into this, so let's activate the filter. And this is on our sample, so we're going back to the root of the sound, right? And that click is beautiful. So this is really great. This is heading in a really good direction. And this moves us naturally into the 5th tip, which is all about compression. And I prepared a little bit of a compressor here. This one has a 4.00 ratio. It also has an attack of 100 milliseconds to make sure that a lot of our punch from the kick comes through. The release is set to the shortest amount possible to make sure that it goes back from the gain reduction between every kick hit. There's quite a lot of threshold here, and I show you why in a second. So let's just check out what happens when we activate this compressor. So you can hear the difference here in snappiness. And if you keep going down with the threshold, you're going to hear that we lose the kick a little bit. So we're looking for the sweet spot here. I'd say something there. Let's turn it off. Yeah, that's really nice. But we're losing a little bit of volume here, so we're going to gain stage again. Oh yeah, here we go. Making sure it doesn't go into the red. And let's group this A and B a little bit. Yeah, this is great. We're gonna ease up on the threshold a bit here. So there you have it, a very punchy and effective kick drum in some 5 very simple and fast working steps. Of course, this is all simplified because I've prepared a little bit before, but if you use your ears, you're gonna get there quite fast, I'm sure. So that brings me to our last little bonus tip here, which is all about using your ears, right? So when I first hear people talk about this, I heard other producers talk about this when I was learning, and it was very abstract. And I think in this case of finding out the proper kick is using your ears in the way of figuring out if the kick is not working. That's basically it. That's what you need to listen for. Is the kick punchy enough? Is it coming through the mix? Is it driving the track? If it isn't, then you need to go back to the source, go through these steps, and I'm sure you're going to figure out what makes the kick work with your track pretty fast. But yeah, listen, use your ears, and if it's not working, go back to the source, find another sample, and tune it until it sits right in the mix. So if you want to know more about designing a good techno kick drum and a nice techno low end, then make sure to check out my new masterclass for SINEE with the focus on techno kick drums and techno low ends, where I'll go a lot more into details than I did in this video, and you can make sure to catch all of my secret tips and tricks in that masterclass. Thank you. Hope you enjoy it.